When I think about the characteristics I admire in other leaders, I think I would list a lot of the things I've seen in the other videos in this series, which I think are just great. Um, Things like authenticity, someone who is good at, just people skills, understands how to read people and motivate people, someone who listens and can build consensus. Some of the ones that may be a little bit unique to me when I'm thinking about what I really most admire in a leader, somebody that is open to change and growing. I know that an organization can't move forward if you just want to stand still. So somebody who's not afraid of change and doing things in a different way, and that often means listening to other people. Related to that, I think a leader has to bring other people up in the organization. So a leader doesn't do everything themselves. They look for other people that have different talents and abilities, and they give that person and those people a chance to shine and to lead as well. And that really creates a legacy for the organization with a new group of leaders coming up in the organization. So I think those things are really important to me. I think one thing that a leader has to do differently is really seek feedback. It can be really hard to get feedback because there's not always a formal mechanism to get feedback. So asking for feedback, I think that's really hard, but something that we have to be willing to do, and not just what we want to hear, but really ask what you don't want to hear, because if you're not willing to hear that, you can't change and grow. You also have to surround yourself with people who are willing to give you feedback. And it's, it's easy to not do that, actually. It's easy to surround yourself with people who kind of see the world the same way you see it. So to seek out people with different points of view, and then to ask them like what they perceive about how a certain conversation went, or how a meeting went, seek that feedback. And then what I think has been really helpful to me is to have people in my not work life, but kind of my outside personal life, who I can run things by, who are willing to tell me, probably more brutally, honestly, than even people that I work closely with, like how they perceive, what I'm describing to them. I think all of those things are really difficult and are hard, really hard for me, but I think it's important. I think the biggest challenge I've faced in my current role is COVID. Like when COVID started, we were all facing a lot of unknowns, and we were isolated, and there was a lot of work to do. And I think it was easy to feel like I'm alone at my house trying to answer these questions. And I think the answer to it was realizing that we all had to be a team, even though we were working in a different way than we had before. And even though it was by Zoom, and that was unique at the time, it's not unique anymore, but at the time that was unique. Realizing that we were going to do it together, even though it was in a new way, and realizing that there were a lot of unknowns, but we would navigate them together, and not feeling like I needed to do any of it on my own, but we were going to continue to do things as a team. I think that was sort of the key to moving forward. I think the best preparation is really just watching other people. Um, I think professionally, I always watch the leaders around me. I think even as a student, I always watch the leaders around me and try to learn from them and see what works for them, and give some thought to how it would work for me. I think as a woman, I was especially watching other women and thinking about how they navigated leadership roles. And there are some unique challenges for women in leadership. It's something that my female colleagues and I, Joy Radice and Terry Baxter and Melanie Wilson, we've all done some research on and presented about before. And so I think thinking about the unique issues of women in leadership has been something I've done to prepare as a leader. Specifically, I had a great opportunity to work for Ann Covington. She was the first female justice on the Missouri Supreme Court, and I think she just felt a special duty as the first woman on that court to make sure that she got it right, because she knew that people were viewing her not just as herself, but also as a woman in this role. Um, so she was a tremendous role model for me. I learned a lot just from working closely with her, and she's continued to be a great mentor to me. I don't think she knew it would last for as many years as it has, but she's still often the phone call I make when I need advice about a professional issue. So just having good role models and having good mentors is especially important to me. I think future leaders are people who are interested in the group or the organization or the cause that they're leading. And what that looks like initially is just a lot of hard work in support of the cause and not in support of themselves individually necessarily. And you see it all the time, somebody who is coming up in an organization and is putting the organization ahead of themselves, and usually somebody who's a really hard worker. And I think those are the people that I know are going to move up through the organization and lead it because they put the organization ahead of themselves. I think we're all continuing to grow as a leader constantly. To me, the most important thing I think I do is watch other leaders. And I've had a great opportunity to do that in my current role as associate dean. I've had an office next door to 3 prior deans, and I've learned something great about leadership from each of them. And I think also learning from junior people is an important way to learn leadership. I am really fortunate to work with a lot of fantastic junior faculty that are future leaders, and I've learned from watching their leadership style. I learn from students too. I see a lot of leadership among our student body in the classroom and from TAs and research assistants, so I'm constantly learning from all of you. I think it's important to read about leadership. I think listening to podcasts. There's so many good podcasts right now on leadership topics. So those are maybe some of the more formal ways to learn, but really just watching is what I think is most important.